Hello, this is Justin Mason, and what you're about to hear is recordings from last weekend's Podapallooza 2024. This was a live stream event hosted over 2 days, 20 hours in total. And sometimes during this event, because so many different people are involved, the audio isn't quite what you would expect from a normal podcast. I hope you still enjoy the content, but I apologize if there is some choppiness or rough listening at points. Enjoy. We're bringing on a new panel here shortly, but just want to remind everybody what we're doing here today is we're raising money for Fantasy Cares, which is a fantastic organization which raises money to buy toys for tots presents for children all over the country. 25 cities last year, tens of thousands of dollars worth of toys donated. It's a fantastic organization. Every dollar that you donate to donorbox.org/TGFBI gets you entered in to win a raffle prize. We have amazing raffle prizes here: signed jersey, bobbleheads, subscriptions to amazing sites, tons of stuff to give away at the end of Podapallooza. So keep the donations coming in, and we will keep those prizes and fantasy talk coming at you. So coming on now is my good friend Howard Bender of Fantasy Alarm. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, Justin, man? Thanks so much for allowing me to be here. This is always one of my favorite things that the industry does, and obviously credit to you for bringing in the Great Fantasy Baseball Invitational and bringing it together with Fantasy Cares. I absolutely love it. Are you wearing a sweatshirt that shows your likeness here? What are you doing here?
No, I'm just wearing a sweatshirt right now. It was a little cold this morning, and I've been running around doing stuff when I'm not on the air with everybody, so I haven't had a chance to go change. But I do have my Sean Bouchard jersey, which I will be putting on here in a minute, because we'll be giving away a Sean Bouchard jersey as part of these prizes. Remind everybody where you can reach Howard and plug all that you do.
I'm on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at RotoBuzzGuy. You can find my work all over fantasyalarm.com. I write a weekly fantasy column for the New York Post. You can find that either in print, actually, if you get a newspaper and you live in New York, or obviously nypost.com. And of course, you can hear me on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio Monday through Friday, channel 87 from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, co-hosting with the GM Jim Bowden. So a lot of great baseball talk going on over there right now.
I'm going to have to get a paper copy of the New York Post when I'm in New York in a few weeks so I can have you sign it. So that is going to be the plan. Coming on as well is Matthew. How you doing, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Remind everybody where you can be reached on social media and plug all that you do.
Yeah, so probably the most complicated social media name of the whole weekend. It's down there, D4RKSH33P_ Dark Sheep _. And I am one of the evangelists for the underdog best ball format out there online. So yeah, if you follow me there, you'll also get the two shows that I put together just focused on underdog fantasy best ball. We started stackingdingers.com this year with some other smart underdog players, and that's covering everything you need to know. There's a weekly show for that. And then every Friday night on the sheep seats on YouTube, I draft up, drink some beer, and draft underdog teams.
I love it. Make sure if you are about to donate to DM your donation to Matthew. Yes. He said he's going to match up to $100. So let's make sure we make him dig deep and get some donations in. Appreciate that, Matthew. Joining us as well is Jamie. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great. Good to see you guys. I'm so happy to be on this thing. I've been looking forward to it all weekend, especially when I saw that Howard was going to be the fearless leader for this. Love being on with Howard.
Yeah, it was a risky decision to put Howard in charge, but sometimes sacrifices have to be made. Jamie, why don't you remind everybody where you can reach on social media and then plug everything you got going on?
Sure, I'm at JAC3600. Some things going on right now. I've got some DFS articles coming out for NBA on Fantasy Pros. Also working on some MLB mock drafts from both the early and late positions over there. Some rookie mock drafts at Fantasy Pros, and still the senior analyst and president of operations over at Fan Team Advice. So you could come on and join us over at Fan Team Advice and check out our optimizer. And other than that, I'm a free agent right now because football diehards unfortunately had to fold. So I'm kind of doing freelance as far as that stuff goes, but I'm still in touch with the good friends at Football Diehards, still on the radio with Bob and Mike. So thankful for those guys.
Yeah, it was sad to see Football Diehards have to go away, but we wish everyone over there good luck. Great people were a part of that organization. So joining us as well is one of the few people in the world to own the Justin Mason bathing suit. And so it is Britton Allan. How you doing, buddy?
What up, Justin? How's everybody doing today? Good to see you guys. Yes, I have that a bathing suit, a woman's bathing suit with Justin's face on it, and it's in the closet with all the other skeletons of my life, and that unfortunately is also one of them as well.
Well, you remind everybody where you can reach on social media and plug everything you got going on.
All right, thank you so much. Please follow me on Twitter or X. It's my name. It's Britton Allan, BrittonAllan. I co-host a podcast with Michael Govier and Mike V called the Pallazzo Podcast. 2 L's, 2 V's. Shout out, guys. I hope you're watching. And we talk fantasy baseball prep. Please come to the YouTube site for Pallazzo and check out we have a prospect show that's really great. I love it. I know I'm biased, but just a lot of great fantasy baseball talk.
All right. I'm going to turn things over to Howard to let you guys get going, but I will be back in an hour. I'll be listening in case you slander any of the players I like.
We would never do that, right? We're only going to slander Justin for the time being, right?
I can
have a bunch back for that too.
I have a couple players I want to slander, but can I first ask Matthew? Your background is really interesting. It looks like some type of apocalypse situation.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
I'm okay. It's just some random AI generated art that I made.
That's awesome. I love it.
Actually, my logo is also AI art generated. So sorry to you artists out there.
Are we all wearing
your Twitter handle?
Are we all wearing some sort of baseball paraphernalia here? I see a jersey over there. What do we got, Britton?
This is a blue shirt, man, but it's got a collar on it because I know you write for the New York Post, and I wanted to try to impress you, so I wore a shirt with a collar on it.
So fancy, Jamie. What jersey are you rocking?
I'm repping the pinstripes. First televised game that's going on right now, and I must say, Juan Soto looks glorious in pinstripes.
He does. That makes me. I want to hug you. Now. I'm coming for Tout Wars, Jamie. So we're gonna have to get a nice, long, awkward hug in there. Matthew, how about you? It's AI generated. Was there no baseball reference there?
No, it's just my little logo that I've got everywhere.
All right, beautiful. We should pimp that out. For me, it's Matty O hits dingers, courtesy of RotoWare. Do I gotta sit up here? There it is.
I feel like you're flashing us or something. You're
Nobody needs to see that.
Showing us the goods, Howard.
Just got in a different category on YouTube.
Although I'll tell you what, I don't know. I haven't weighed myself, but my wife says I've dropped about 50 to 60 pounds. So I am on the comeback trail here as well, which is perfectly appropriate for what we've got going on here today for everybody out there. And again, thank you so much for tuning in here to Podapallooza. Love having you all there. The scroll at the bottom, please make those donations to Fantasy Cares. It's an amazing cause. If you're a football person, you know that what Scott Fish does over at Fantasy Cares with the Scott Fish Bowl. Well, Justin crushes it over here for baseball. So we're talking bounce back players here, the players who are real disappointments. And the question is, are we taking flyers on them based on their ADP? Maybe you're going to sit and kind of wait for them. Now, Justin gave us a list of players who we can talk about, and I definitely want to jump in on this full list. But I'm sure that everybody here on the panel, and I'll start with Matthew. Everybody here on the panel has somebody that they're eyeballing, that they're saying, you know what? Despite a terrible year last year, despite injuries, despite it all, I'm still going to invest in this player. I'm still going to have some shares in him. So, Matthew, I'll start with you. Who's your number one bounce back candidate?
Yeah, so this might be cheating, but mine's actually Vlad Guerrero Jr. He didn't have a terrible year last year, but I think the balance on what people think he is from last year to when he had his true breakout is like just skewed at this point. Obviously, I just think he has the ability to return you first round value, like no matter the format, and he's not going there. So it's not like a super deep dive, but I think he's like my number one target as far as a bounce back guy.
Gonna give him that shot one more time. I got you. Jamie, how about you?
Well, my top guy is on our list, so I'll wait till that comes.
No,
around.
serve it up. We listen. We got an hour here, baby. Let's have some fun with this. Who do you got?
No rules, Jamie.
True. Yes. So, I mean, I do like Christian Javier a lot. He's so far in all the drafts I've been doing, he's been kind of the one that I've kept my eye on the most as, the bounce back guy at ADP. I'm really intrigued to see what the radar gun is going to read during these games that are just starting out. But I mean, for the 3 years before last year, it was a 104 whip and 11.2 K per 9 rate. It kind of just all fell apart last season. But if you look at, he lost a mile an hour off his fastball. So that struggles can maybe be traced to that. And if it's back up, I'm all in on him on that team.
Beautiful. How about you, Britton?
I want Trevor Story to be a bounce back player. He signed that big 6-year, like $140 million contract with the Boston Red Sox. He's had 2 terrible years marred by injury. So I think he is going to be projected to bat 4th for the lineup. He's only 31 years old. So in his projections are 2020. Which he's done before. He's done many years. I know it was Colorado, but Boston's not a bad place to hit either. And you can get him on the cheap. His ADP is like, 200 or 150 or something crazy like that. So give me the cleanup hitter for Boston Red Sox. He's going to play every day. He's not going to get benched. He's not going to get set down. He's going to play every day. And he's also not – this isn't like an Anthony Rendon situation. Like Trevor Story – it wants to be good. Like he wants to earn his contract, whereas Rendon is the worst ever. Just the complete waste of space. Like he assaults, fans in the stands, and then he goes on podcasts and says how this is just a job and he doesn't care. And oh my God, he's the worst. He's like the opposite of the bounce back player. He's like the bounce down player. Like, oh no, actually, no bounce, 0 bounce.
Zero shares.
My 11-year-old likes to spy on my underdog notifications that pop up on my phone on Twitter. I got all the sports, and he saw the one on Rendon. And he looked at the story, and he's like, "Why doesn't he want to play?"
Because he's the worst. He's literally the worst. He's not just terrible. He's defiantly terrible. It's amazing. It's almost kind of special, like just how big a jerk he is. It's amazing.
And this is it's the pure example of just somebody just milking that contract. And, listen, we also got to, give a thumbs down to Artie Moreno, the owner of the Angels, because he's just, how do you hand that contract out? Makeup and character is something that you need to investigate, and there's 0 there for Rendon. So I'm with you on that one.
There was even stuff when he played for the Nationals that was coming out that he didn't want to play. So it was known already.
Yeah. So 0 bounce back for Anthony Rendon. 0. 172.95, by the way. That is the Trevor Story ADP, according to our friends over at the NFBC. So, it's a nice late pick. And, considering how top heavy shortstop is. And by top heavy, I mean the top 10 is still ridiculous. But, you kind of move down the board a little bit there. And, Trevor Story, you're drafting him like a middle infielder in some cases. You can draft him as your starting shortstop, but I like that call a lot there. I'm always invested in Vlad. That was a dude who, it was 3 years ago. I was making ridiculous money just betting his total bases prop the day after he went over, because there were 4 times during that season, only 4 times that he went over in back-to-back games. So I just kept hammering that total bases prop after an over, and it worked out absolutely beautifully in there as well. And then Jamie, your bounce back candidate, I like Christian Javier. I do think that he is incredibly talented. I feel like there's just a hump that he needs to get over there. I'm gonna have shares of him at some point. His ADP is super far down as well, so it's like a free pick for me. Get your laughs out now, boys. You might as well do it. I am going back to the well one more time. Eloy Jimenez. I can't quit Eloy Jimenez. Listen, even Byron Buxton had one good year out of 7 or 8. So maybe I could say Eloy is due, but I look at this guy and he hits cleanup and in a hitter friendly ballpark. The injuries are always a pain in the ass. He plays hard out there, but I'm still for where Eloy's going. And I mean, that's like 200s ADP. Nobody's touching him because he's utility only right now coming into the season. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with just taking that late round flyer because I do know that the ceiling for Eloy Jimenez is up there. 30 home runs, maybe 100 RBI, just depending on what happens. I mean, he's going to be hitting behind Lewis Robert the entire time. So Eloy is my guy there. I'll give you guys the floor if you want to flame that pick in any way, shape.
Yeah, I think people got scared off a little bit because I read reports that they may try to make him play in the outfield again. And people are like, no, like, where's Oscar Colas, for goodness sake? So, but if he's DHing, I mean, he's going to hit. He hit 30 plus home runs last year. So yeah, Eloy Jimenez got all the power in the world.
DH should help him not get hurt too. But I wonder, do you think a trade is still in play for him? I know there was discussion on that, earlier in the offseason, but I'm wondering still if a team like like the Angels even, that would, if they can get him back on track, he's 3 years, he's affordable. I wonder if there's still a trade market for him out there.
I would love to see it. I think it's fine for a trade market. He's going to need to start off the season white hot. And then that somebody who's going to be a playoff contender is like, yeah, I want that bat in the middle of my lineup and be able to do it. So he's going to have to prove himself on that front there. But I do think that there's definitely some appeal if he comes out and he hits well. So, all right, well, let's take a look at some of these bounce back player candidates that Justin wanted us to take a look at. We'll start first here with Tim Anderson, recently signed by the Marlins, and the Marlins did report that if they do sign, they even said it, if they sign Tim Anderson, he is their starting shortstop. He will bat second in that lineup behind Luis Ariz. Here's a guy who was a 300 hitter. Now, one of the things that, he had a lot of personal issues going on over the past 2 years. And, it's not something that you need to really get into or anything like that. I know he also can't take a punch. We've all seen that video of him there. But, Tim Anderson, if he can go back to hitting 300, if he's going to sit there and, batting in back of Luis Ariz, maybe you get like Jazz Chisholm hitting behind him. There is a possibility here, but the question is do you believe it or do you not? I'll start with Britton this time. Do you believe in Tim Anderson?
Absolutely not. And I've done exhaustive research, mathematics, science, and all signs point to Tim Anderson being a straight up bust. Now he's real cheap, so I guess he can't be a bust by that definition. But so when a player, a professional player, gets clocked in the face by another player, that player's career is essentially over. If you look at the facts, and of course, I'm talking about when Rognet Odor smacked Jose Bautista in the face. You know, Bautista's career was over, and I'm afraid if you see that fight with Jose Ramirez for the Guardians, same thing happened to Tim Anderson. That dude got jammed up and then like did a little, you know, like a little turn. You could see the Tweety birds like up around his head. I'm like, that there's no way this dude's ever going to be right again. There's just not. So I'm sorry, Tim Anderson. I'm glad you got another job, but even before you got clocked, I mean, you weren't that good anyway. I mean, you had like one good year in 2017 and all the rest. Oh, I will say this though. Tim Anderson did have one good moment where, do y'all remember that Field of Dream games when like Kevin Costner came out and then all the White Sox players and the Yankees? He did hit a walk-off home run in that game, but I think it's everything's pretty much downhill after that.
I hate him for that game.
Don't hold back, baby. Why? What's the matter?
Oh, yeah. If I recall, the Yankees came back in that one too, and Judge hit one, and then he like stole all the thunder with the walk off into the corn with that. I'm trying to remember the details, but
the balls were flying in the corn that evening. Yeah, it was like it was a good place to hit apparently.
What about you, Matt? How about a little Tim Anderson? Is he going to find his way onto your roster somewhere?
You know, I am out. Yeah, like you said, you know, he's had some personal stuff going on for, you know, a few years now, but like if you look, like he hasn't been good when he's played, and like the max EV, the EV, never good on him. Like you're getting what out of him? Like for road, you're getting average. He doesn't steal bases. And like how long is he batting second on that? Like if he's slumping and if we see what we saw last year in Chicago, like how long is he batting second? Like he's penciled in there now, but I don't really trust it. He's 30 years old. Just I don't know how much more is there for him to get to.
All right. ADP sitting in the 320s. You know, if you're sitting there in the 26th, 27th round, maybe you want to take a shot. These guys don't want to take a shot. I might. There's always that opportunity. I mean, you know, one of the things that I think that we kind of forget about is that these guys are human beings. These guys aren't just, you know, hey, going out on the field and playing. They have lives going on. I mean, I'm out here in the Bay Area, and while I'm not going to like make any excuses because, you know, he ate his way into a lack of a career, but that's Pablo Sandoval. And a lot of people were jumping all over his drop. He had that 1 year in between 2 years that was really, really bad, and people were down on him. And one of the things that happened that really wasn't publicized was that his mom's house went up in flames, lost everything. The whole family was losing a whole ton of stuff there. And that really kind of weighed in on it. And I think that, you know, listen, for Tim Anderson, yeah, I'm sure a lot of the stuff that he brings on himself. But, you know, when you're in your 30s, I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm in my 50s right now. And I know that in my 20s, I was an ass. Of course I was, right? Who wasn't an ass in their 20s? So you kind of, you know, you tend to mature and you kind of dig deep, and maybe Tim Anderson sees this as a potential, let me kind of try and resurge a career. Maybe not. We'll move around to the rest of the list here. Here's a guy who I will just say it right off the bat. I am out 100%. I do not believe in any kind of a bounce back for Lance Lynn. I get it. You want to grab some like cheap strikeouts or something like that, but I mean, this dude's ERA is somewhere in the stratosphere. We saw it last season. I don't care going back, you know, playing for the Cardinals, and that he's going to be the third starter behind Sonny Gray and maybe even Kyle Gibbs. I'm not buying Lance Lynn, but Jamie, maybe you are buying Lance Lynn and can tell me why not.
No, I'm not either. And, you know, unlike Tim Anderson, who I'm okay with just because of how cheap he is, that it's a no risk thing. Lynn right now is not cheap enough for me. And if you look at all the underlying peripherals, like he's only got a 35% ground ball rate last year, which was a career low, a 19% homer to fly ball rate. All the underlying, the FIP indicates that ERA is real. You're right. There's strikeouts to be had, but when it comes at the expense of all the other things that could go wrong for a 36-year-old pitcher, he's a pass for me.
All right. Matt, how about you? Lance?
Yeah, I think he is a format guy. Like, I don't want him any roto, but like on Underdog, you can get him in like, it's a 20-round draft there on Underdog, and you can get him in like the 17th or 18th round. And the nice thing about best ball is that I don't have to figure out when he's going to have those high strikeout games. I can just have him there sitting there, and I'm not getting the bad parts of him. So like if you think there's some strikeout left there and it matches your format that you're not trying to guess when those good games are going to come, I think it's worthwhile. But I think I also have concerns with just, we kind of think of him as this bulk guy, but like 36, he's going to be 37. Like how long does that last? Even, you think about his frame and you think, oh, these guys last, they go deep in games, but like, even if he's going deep in games, how much has that age and body going to hold up?
All right. Well, Britton, Lance Lynn's mom is actually watching this stream right now. So is it a clean sweep of no to her son, or are you going to be the champion of Lance Lynn?
I respectfully disagree with all you gentlemen.
Nice.
You're all wrong about Lance Lynn. And not just a little wrong, a lot wrong. I hate to tell you, with all due respect. Okay, and here's why Lance Lynn is going to bounce back. A 1,000% guaranteed bounce back player, Lance Lynn. And here's why. He's
Are
mean
you all
as
right?
shit.
Blink twice, Britton. Is Lance Lynn's mom back there?
He is a mean, dark, angry man. Now, if you've seen him on the mound, he's yelling after like every pitch. Like he pitches with anger, much like the Sith Lords of Star Wars, Anakin Skywalker, the other guy. So they channel their anger, and then they pull out the red lightsaber and they start messing stuff up, right? Well, that's what Lance Lynn is going to do. He had a bad season, but he still threw a ton of strikes. He can still throw strikes. He's going to channel his anger. He's going to yell. Remember that one? He was having one bad game. Well, he had lots of bad games, frankly. But he had one bad game, and he went to the dugout and started yelling at like the first base coach or something. Like, what's he doing to you, man? I don't know. But so he's just out there. He's angry. He's 37, but that's not that old when you're feeding off your anger, on a day-to-day basis. So I love Lance Lynn to come back, throw, maybe, it's going to be a high 3 ERA, but he's going to throw strikes. You get him. Nobody in the world wants Lance Lynn. Yeah, I love Lance Lynn for a decent bounce back this year.
Is there a pink Bronco parked outside your house or something?
Is that what that is?
I'm kind of wondering here about, is that like a perfect candidate for a mic'd up moment just so we could hear him? Because I have a sneaking suspicion that when he's yelling, it's more of like, God, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I threw that stupid pitch.
Yeah, he's literally every single pitch. He's mad. He's rumbling. He's yelling. He puts his glove up and he starts yelling in it like a crazy man. That's exactly what I want. Give me that Ricky Vaughn coming in the manager's office throwing stuff around. That's Lance Lynn. I think he's gonna bounce. Lance Lynn's not going out like this, guys. He's not going out on this. He's not. That's not in his makeup. He's going to bounce back. I really like Lance Lynn.
Well, then let's hit some of these veteran pitchers who are on our list here. Two in particular. Number one, Lucas Giolito. He plays for the Red Sox now. Again, he's a good strikeout pitcher, but the rest of it is kind of a nightmare. Not to mention the fact that, listen, I'll say this. If Boston has any hope of winning on Patriots Day, they cannot start Lucas Giolito. The boy does not pitch well during day games. But we got Giolito as a strikeout specialist. He's dropping down further on. He's like, mid to late rounds. I think I see him going around the 16th, 17th round. things like that. The other one, though, is Aaron Nola, going much higher in drafts, did not have a good season last year, has technically been bumped down to as the number 2 with Zach Wheeler being the ace of the staff. So, let's kill two birds with one stone. We'll talk Nola, we'll talk Giolito. Matthew, who's your favorite? It's got to be Nola over Giolito. We know it's Nola over Giolito.
Right.
That's 100%. But can they both rebound?
I like the Nola one a lot better. I think something interesting with him last year is that he was actually, like, we know he said it. I mean, the whole Phillies team was struggling with the pitch clock. Like, it was proven that their pitch clock was going faster than everybody else's for whatever reason at home. And like he made this change where he was looking at the pitch clock, like, and we saw like an improvement at the end of the season after he said he did that. So I think there's some of this like mental aspect to him last year that kind of like made the results bad. But I think like also there's a bunch of like underlying luck stuff that pointed to just some of it being luck last year. I think the question is the price though. So if you're taking him, you're hoping for what? Like you're not going to get a super high upside. So like it's really about a construction for him. Like if I have a risky pitcher to pair him with as sort of like a settler to that staff, whereas I think the opposite for Giolito was the other one.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the opposite. That's where you need an upside play. Like your build that you're doing needs that guy that is going late and could smash. Like, is he going to have like a mid-3s ERA? Maybe not, but like it's probably not going to be as bad as last year. And he's got the strikeouts there even as he was bad.
All right, Britton, Aaron Nola's ADP sitting right around 60. So is the 5th round too high for Aaron Nola? Obviously, the further he drops, the better the bargain. But, is he going too high right now still?
Well, I'll say this. Like, Nola plays for a good team. That's great. He's going to make every start. That's great. He's got a history of making starts. But I like other guys around that, even a little bit lower. Max Fried, Logan Webb, Logan Gilbert, the Logans. I like Logan's. Logan's Run was a random movie made in 1979 that has nothing to do with anything I'm talking about. But
yeah, but nothing random about it. It was a classic. Come on.
Well,
I'm getting somebody who's actually my age. This is crazy.
Yeah, Logan's Run. I think like Matthew's background had something to do with Logan's Run. Like that was a set piece or something. I don't know. But as far as Lucas Giolito, I'll see you never, Lucas. Ain't happening. Not doing it. Not falling for you again. Lucas Giolito had one good year, and it was in 2021. Hasn't had a good year since. His ERA hovers around 5, maybe just a smidge lower than 5. But I can't really be objective, come to think about it, because after that one good season, I drafted him like in a 12-team or 15-team DC, like maybe at the end of the first round, and then that Patriots game happened and he blew up. You know how, Howard, you were saying like how to gamble? Like if you see Lucas Giolito making a start before 7 p.m., oh yeah, take the other team. He is not a morning or early after, kind of like me, not a morning or afternoon person. So I guess that leaves night. I don't know, but so yeah, I don't want anything to do with Lucas Giolito whatsoever.
All right, Jamie, how about you, man? We've got 2 on the plate here. Lance, you got Lucas Giolito, who's further down, but can get you some strikeouts. Then you got Aaron Nola, who seems to be going a little too high for some of us here.
I'm good with where Nola's going. I do agree with Britton that some of the guys he mentioned around Nola, I'd prefer, like Fried and Logan Gilbert for sure. I would take over Nola. Freddie Peralta's in that range too. I'd take him. Even Tariq Skubal, I'd much rather have him than Nola at this point, even if the wins may not be there. But a thing to be good about with Nola is that 66% strand rate last year, which was 7% lower than his career rate, is really an indicator of bad luck. And you're always looking for bad luck when you're evaluating these pitchers at cost. Yeah, you know, I mean, his home run rate was up, and you know, especially his home run to fly ball rate was a second, you know, the second highest of his career. But the xFIP and the FIP were lower. His WAR was okay. So I'm good with taking him there. If those guys go early and there's a pitching run, not upset if I get Nola. As far as Giolito goes, I'm out too. I think it's too risky. You know, all the peripheral stats that I mentioned with Lance Lynn is basically a carbon copy for Giolito, where you know, his ground ball rate's too low, his fly ball rate's too high. The strand rate really was actually higher than his career rate, or excuse me, the last 5 years. So you can imagine that there might even be more regression coming. So I guess the thing he's got going for him better than Lynn is that he's 7 years younger, but I'm not big on Giolito in that park.
Okay. All right. I like that. Let me just stay here with you for the second, Jamie, because, you know, A, you're a Yankees fan. B, you were talking about the possibility of a trade for Eloy Jimenez. Let's talk about Dylan Cease. Mm-hmm. I've spoken to the GM, Jim Bowden, who has spoken to, you know, several GMs, most notably Brian Cashman. And while it hasn't been officially put on the record, while the Yankees are the favorites to get Blake Snell, if they don't get Blake Snell, there is strong interest in trading for Dylan Cease and making that one happen and bringing Cease over to the Yankees. Now, again, I think Snell is going to probably lock in there, but Cease becomes like one of those second half trade candidates. 2 years ago, he was lights out. He was fantastic. Yeah, the strikeout rate dropped a little bit, but then last year, I mean, it was kind of a hot mess. Now his FIP was somewhere around a 3.7. His ERA was, you know, much higher than that. So you do kind of wonder what, you know, everything that was going wrong with the White Sox, how much that kind of contributed. Do we like Dylan Cease, A, as a bounce back, B, as a possible trade candidate? And let's face it, if Dylan Cease gets traded, he's going somewhere big market. He's going somewhere that's going to be a contender.
Yeah, and I was following that a lot this offseason as a Yankee fan too, because the thing that really bugged me was the package that they were projecting to come back for him, which was, I felt, insane for, you know, even someone of his caliber in a down year. That I don't want the Yankees to give up what they were projected to give up for him. So I'm hoping that they lock in Snell here, especially with Cody Bellinger's recent deal. It looks like maybe Snell can come at a team friendly thing. So I would much prefer that than giving up the farm for Cease. But as far as Cease goes for fantasy, the thing that stood out to me the most was his BABIP going up 70 points from 260 to 330, and which was the highest in baseball among qualified starting pitchers last year. So I don't know how much of that we can, you know, attribute to him giving up harder contact, or if it was just the terrible White Sox defense behind him. I mean, we talked about Tim Anderson earlier, who was the worst defensive shortstop as far as defensive run save goes. So I think there's a lot of things going in Cease's favor for a bounce back. His ADP is going to be something to watch for there. You're right. You know, a trade candidate later on down the line will probably do nothing but help him. So I'm good drafting him, but he's not someone that I'm like overloading here and saying like, it's coming back full force this year. You know, look at 2022, what he did. That Cease is coming back. So, I mean, I'm good with it, but I'm not rushing to the front of the line.
Okay. Matt, how about you? Big fan of Dylan Cease?
I think it's important. The important metric in modern baseball is the mustache to strikeout ratio.
Yes.
And
yes,
I think Dylan Cease definitely fits the bill of the modern pitcher that we like. But no, I think Dylan Cease is just a gamble. Like I don't think you can know what he's going to be in a season because of who he is and how he pitches. With the walks being just like a major problem. So like, I think you mentioned him in the same, you know, talking about if they don't get Snell. I think that's a great way to think about him as a diet Blake Snell, a guy who last year just ended up being like, excuse the overused expression, but a league winner. If you gambled on him having one of those seasons where he is excellent. So I think Dylan Cease, like all of the skills are there to have one of those like high upside seasons, but like you're just taking on a bunch of risk. So for me, Dylan Cease is a lesson in risk tolerance.
Okay, Britton.
I like Dylan Cease if he gets traded, and I like mustache talk too. I think this is a perfect storm. You know, his mustache and gets traded to where mustaches can flourish, which I assume would be Cleveland or something. I don't know where do mustache people go. I'm not 100% sure, but
I think mustaches are okay everywhere. Even
mustache is
the
universal. Yep.
Hey, let me ask Jamie this. All right, so let's say it's announced that the Yankees have traded superstar prospect, the master of the 500-foot bomb, Spencer Jones, for Dylan Cease. What would your reaction to that trade be?
1 for 1, I'm fine with that. It was the packaging.
Really?
Yeah, the packaging that was happening in the offseason was like him and Jason Dominguez and 2 pitching prospects for Dylan Cease, and it was just overrating him, like Matthew said, with the risk tolerance. You know, it's just not worth giving up the farm for somebody like that. But yeah, 1 for 1. I mean, especially with how they've retooled the outfield, I'm good with that.
That's fascinating because I saw an interview with Cashman at, I guess maybe it was winter meetings, and he said, I'm 100% sure that Soto's not going to sign with us. He's going to he's a Boris Klein. He's going to hit free agency. So we traded King and all those players, knowing that Soto is we only have him for 1 year. So, and does Cease have 2 years of control? I think maybe I'd probably have to double check that, but at least 1, probably 2. So,
Cease is on a 1 year. I'm pretty sure Cease is a free agent in 2026.
Yeah, so maybe 1 year of arb control left, but yeah, that's interesting. No, I like Dylan Cease if he gets traded. If he sticks with the Chicago White Sox, I don't like him. That whole team, and Eloy Jimenez is a good power hitter, but man, there's just been a black cloud on that team for a while now, and it's just nothing works. And Tim Anderson, and I mean, like Dylan Cease, like is Gavin Sheets playing in the outfield? Like nobody wants that. Like I don't know what's going on. So yeah, if Dylan Cease leaves the Chicago White Sox, it's worth a shot.
Interesting point you bring it up there about Juan Soto. I will just say this, that one of the things that I have heard is how big of a fan Juan Soto is of New York. And that's actually, listen, even though Scott Boras is, the big pain in the ass agent there, the fact remains that if Juan Soto wants to stay, Juan Soto is going to make sure that he stays. So, I do think that's definitely something that you're going to want to watch throughout the season. And if the city itself embraces Juan Soto, I mean, let's face facts. We've seen, what the Yankee fandom does to a player, and it turns them into these iconic creatures. We saw Aaron Judge, you saw it with Derek Jeter, and it's just one of those things. But it's a great point. I got to circle back on the mustache point here. Are we all in, the 4 of us, on Paul Skeens from Pittsburgh because of that stash?
100%. That's a great point. Yeah, I'm glad to see mustaches coming back in. I did it once. Like I have a little bit of a beard and I shaved it, and my wife said, "Under no circumstances are you allowed to do that." And so that lasted about 5 minutes. My flirting with mustache. So, but if those gentlemen can pull it off, absolutely.
Favorite mustache, Matt? Who is it?
Oh, I mean, it's easily Strider, no doubt.
Okay, Jamie, best mustache?
I'm gonna be a homer and say Nasty Nestor Cortez.
Oh, that's
does look a little creepy with that mustache. I'm not gonna lie.
Kids wear it in the stands. It's so weird.
Wasn't the all-time guy the pitcher? Was it Raleigh Fingers?
Raleigh
Fingers, yeah.
Yeah, he had like the gel and like the catfish thing come up. Now that's a man confident in himself, right? You know what I mean?
I kind of want to see Britton here with the Fu Manchu. Will your wife let you get away with that? I tried it. Like I did the same thing as you. And I tried and I shaved out the Fu Manchu and she got really pissed off at me for it. And so, of course, I was a son of a bitch. And I was like, all right, let me go fix that. And I went with the regular mustache. And then she was like, that looks even worse. Dear Lord, grow your beard back. And so I went to the bathroom again. And, just to be a smartass, I did. I shaved out the little Hitler stash just for her to see it for like 5 seconds.
Oh, the little patch?
Yeah, just like a little bit right there underneath.
Yeah, that's scary.
At least say Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, you're right. I could say, but how many people sit there and they look at that mustache and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's total Charlie Chaplin." No, they're like, "Ew, that's Hitler."
See, Matthew and Jamie probably don't have this problem because they're young guys. I'm 46, about to be 47 in April.
I'm not far behind.
I can't shave. I cannot shave because if I shave, all you see is a lot of face.
Yeah.
And it's just face everywhere. And you don't want to see face everywhere once you get to a certain age. So yeah, this beard, I'm afraid the beard's not going anywhere.
It's the same for me. Also, it also covers up the extra chins that I got floating on underneath there as well. So
Paul schemes it's not holding him back at all. Who's his girlfriend's like the Olympic gymnast or something, right? They're like a sports power couple. She's cute. He's not getting held back by that thing at all. In fact, I think it's pushing him forward.
Well, also the idea of a guaranteed starting pitcher contract and not too distant
that
future
might have something to do with
doesn't
it.
hurt that situation.
My wife's like, "You're a fantasy analyst," and that not with that mustache. All right, let's move on to some position players here. Let's talk about some of the names that we've got sitting on the list. We'll go behind the plate here because here was a guy who I was actually very much in on. And that was Tyler Stevenson. He was hitting at the top of the order, but this was before the Reds started bringing everybody up. Once all of a sudden the kids started coming up, and you see Stevenson start to drop in the batting order. I think he's projected to hit maybe 7th or 8th in the lineup this year. But you kind of look at it almost in the way that you look at Colorado when you got somebody hitting in Cincinnati. It's always like you get that extra look. Just because of the ballpark there. Stevenson's super late. He's got 20 home run power. He does not typically hit for a low batting average, but, again, we've seen him struggle over the past couple of seasons. Do we believe in a guy like Tyler Stevenson in order to wait on the catcher position? Because let's face facts. If it's, you get Adley Rutschman at the top, and then you've got like Will Smith and, maybe you could say JT Realmuto and William Contreras. But I don't know about you guys. I mean, I'm still trying to champion the one catcher leagues and get us to stop the nonsense of a 2-catcher league. But I'm sure the 4 of us all play in enough 2-catcher leagues that does Stevenson move the needle at all? Dealer's choice. Who wants to start?
Oh, that was a lot of pressure, Howard.
See that? Jamie just spoke up first. You get to go.
All right. Yeah. None of us wanted to break the seal on Tyler Stevenson there. So, I mean, the 1-catcher, 2-catcher point is, I think, really relevant for him. I'm not interested at all in 1-catcher leagues. 2-catcher leagues, sure. I think the thing just to note on him first and foremost is I think maybe patience is a good thing to have with him this year. If there's a reason that he'll bounce back, it's because in 2022, the guy was decimated by injuries, like multiple different ones. He had concussion, he had broken thumb, and that wasn't even the worst one, right? One was like a chest bone or a collarbone or something like that. So, I mean, that's a lost year. And then 2023, I mean, you can attribute a down year to that. That's hard to come back from, all that injuries in a year, especially when you're behind the plate. There was a rotation at catcher. He stopped playing first, essentially. So, yeah, I think in 2024, if we're to assume he's fully healed, he's fine. He's fine to take as maybe the back end of the top 10, 12 catchers there.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I think the value is right on him as your catcher too, not touching as a first catcher. I think you look at if you're looking at his Fangraphs page, you see some really good seasons, and then you look at the sample size on those seasons, and they're smaller. But if you compare last year, then like if you look at that, like his expected stats, like they match from previous seasons to what he did last year. So I think what he did last year is similar to what you're getting, but I think it's fine for the cost. And if you play on underdog, you don't have to take any catchers if you don't want.
Really? Isn't that nice? Isn't that fancy? It's like playing on FanDuel.
Tyler Stevenson, man, he was exciting for as a prospect because he's got that body. You know, he's athletic built. He hit for good average, and you figure, oh well, he's going to come up in Cincinnati and start getting in some power, and it just didn't happen for whatever reason. And I think Jamie is right going over the injuries. Like he had bad concussion things going on, and when you're a catcher back there every day, and somebody Marcelo Zuna is whacking you with the back end of his stroke, it's like it sucks. So Taylor Stevenson, like everything was lined up, and it just didn't work out. So you're right. I don't think. I mean, he's young, but yeah, I think it's time to kind of look elsewhere.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm in on him as a possible second catcher there. It just depends on where it goes. Now, there are two guys out there who had both the catcher and outfield eligibility last year, which, of course, when you get somebody who's not working behind the plate and they start getting those regular at-bats in the outfield, well, then, the value's there and you use them as catcher. Dalton Varsho and MJ Melendez. Now, these could very well have been two of the most disappointing players that you picked up as a catcher last year. And it was atrocious. And I kept, it was funny because I sit there and, I'm like in the Fantasy Alarm Discord and, you get guys who are like, they're still in on these players and they're wondering. And I'm like, you can't use them in the outfield based on the way they're playing right now. You can't use them in the outfield. If you put them behind the plate, great. But if you've got another catcher who's hitting better than them, then these guys don't belong on your roster. Now they've both lost their catcher eligibility, and the question is can they bounce back? Varsho's in Toronto. They've moved the fences a little bit over there, so it's kind of affected certain things. And then Melendez over in Kansas City. I mean, I can't possibly think that this guy's going to hit 202 again. I might be exaggerating at the 202, but then again, I might not be. So, look at that. In Yahoo, Justin Mason's telling us in Yahoo, Melendez is catcher eligible. So, Britton, I'll start with you there.
Yeah, I think.
Would you even think about it?
Yeah, I think MJ Melendez has a good shot. They're going to play him. And I know he switched from catcher to outfield, so there's an adjustment there, physically, mentally, everything else that goes along with it. But they're committed to him. And if you look at his StatCat page, he hits the ball hard. MJ Melendez got a lot unlucky, and I think that's going to even out. Plus, he's super talented. He's very positive. I mean, he's got the look of somebody that's going to be successful. But Dalton Varsho is a horse of a different color. I don't even know what that means. But no, you look at Dalton Varsho's page, it is permafrost. Shout out Night Country, True Detective. What was that show about?
No, I don't spoilers.
know. I watched all of it. I don't know what's happening. But Dalton Varsho has that little spiral thing on his head. His hitting metrics are terrible. And he's 27. Okay, he's not a young guy. I mean, 27 is young to me, but in real life baseball world, like 27, you pretty much are what you are. And he's not a good hitter. Now he can play outfield because he's an outstanding outfielder, and his athleticism, they'll keep him in the fold. But man, he can't hit, and that's just it. He can't hit, and Melendez can. So I'm definitely on the Melendez train.
Matt, you tapping into either of these guys? Are you believing in Melendez as well?
Yeah. So I think the key thing that on these guys is like how we adjust our expectations. And how the market adjusts comparatively to that. So like how much in Roto were we taking them, or how much of their value was that catcher position, and how much of it is now lost that they don't have that. Obviously on Yahoo still that doesn't really count. But So like, how do we adjust our expectations of these guys? And then like, how far down the board do they go because everybody else is adjusting similar? I do think, I mean, I'm with Britton on MJ Melendez. Like, he hits the ball hard, but he's not good on defense. So like, how often is he going to get a pinch hit for? Like, maybe it doesn't matter so much on the Royals. I don't know. I know earlier there was on the hot takes part, there was some Royals love that they're going to maybe win that division, but maybe it doesn't matter if they're doing well. Like, how much defensive replacement do you get on MJ Melendez? And how much playing time does he lose for that? And then just interesting thing, I don't know, this may be out of nowhere, but looking at Dalton Varsho in preparation for this, I think an interesting thing, he steals bases, but he's really inefficient at it. Mm-hmm. Like, he got caught 6 times in 2022 and had 16 steals. And then last year he got caught 7 times with 17 steals. So is there like some magic land where he's not a super slow player, but he's not super fast? Like, is there some magic world where the team realizes that and makes him a little more efficient with all the rule changes? Like, obviously he didn't do it last year, but I think it's interesting that he has that steals and
that's a coaching thing too. Like, Toronto stole the least amount of bags as a team last year. Like, but Bo Bichette had like 3 or something crazy. Like, for whatever reason, I think they tell those guys don't run, and then Varsho just does it anyway and gets thrown out. But, whatever.
Yeah, and part of it for me on Varsho is just I think that whole team, like, we started with Vlad and now we're on Varsho. Like, I think that whole team, he can benefit from a whole bounce back for that whole offense.
Jamie, how about you?
Well, Matt in the chat kind of just took my thunder with where Varsho's batting, behind some robust human beings on the base pass. That that's a really good point. If you look in the chat there, that if he's on base behind Kirk or Vogelbach, that he's going to have a little trouble stealing. But I mean, Varsho, Britton is right that Varsho is not a good hitter. I mean, you've got to understand that going in. Is a career 229 average, a career 298 on base percentage is not anything that's going to be something that you want to be targeting. But I mean, the fact of the matter is his ADP is around 211 according to Fantasy Pros, and he was near a 2020 player last year. And the year before that he was as well. So I mean, as a 4th, 5th outfielder, even without catcher eligibility, I think he holds value there just for the counting stats, as long as you understand that your punting average, there's just that possibility that, he could drag you down in those categories as well. But I'm really not. I'm not down on him. I mean, he's a young player and he's got speed and he's got a little power too.
Right on. Well, look who's in here again. It's good old
guys,
Mason.
You guys were clearly not listening to the bold predictions panel in which I said Dalton Varsho is going to go 30-20 this year. He made massive improvements in zone contact that were just not reflected in the overall line. He's going to have a massive season. At least I hope he does, because I've drafted him on every single team. So. Guys, you did a great job with this panel. Appreciate all of you coming on. I want to give yourselves an opportunity to promote yourselves. So, Jamie, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, thanks again for having me on, Justin, and for putting all this together. I really appreciate the invite all the time. This is still one of the most fun baseball leagues to be a part of with this community. You can find me on Twitter at JAC3600, talking all sorts of fantasy sports. And right now, the majority of my content can be found at Fantasy Pros until I land a regular gig with someone else right now. But Fantasy Pros, DFS NBA every Saturday. And DFS MLB will be coming when the season starts, and some mock drafts from the early and late positions coming this week.
Awesome. Matthew, where can people reach you and promote all your work?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter at D4RKSH33P_. And you can find my work at stackingdingers.com and the Sheep Seats on YouTube. And everybody should come try out Underdog Best Ball this year, and definitely have some videos out there on Stacking Dingers that will do the introduction for you. And my DMs are always open if you're interested in learning.
And Britton.
Thank you very much, Justin, for having me on. Howard, Jamie, Matthew, it was a pleasure talking with you guys. It was a lot of fun. Please follow me on X. It's my name, Britton Allan, BrittonAllan, and also the Pallazzo podcast with Michael Govier, Mike V, comes out once a week. We do draft prep. If you would come to the YouTube channel and click subscribe, that would be great. But I also, before I forget, Justin, I have this Mike Trout autographed baseball card. So please donate to Fantasy Cares. It's top certified right there. I bought this as part of a little set that came out in 2019. I still have the box, and I even have the shipping receipt. So donate some money. You win this card. It's worth thousands of dollars, fine print, maybe not, but I mean, it could be. I mean, it could be maybe 100. I don't know, but look, it's a cool card. So please, look at this, guys. It's also, he's called the Melvor Meteor. That's a meteor. See that thing? I mean,
who took that shot? That's a good That's a good shot.
Thank you. Please donate to Fantasy Cares to whatever you can, and maybe you'll walk away with a Mike Trout autograph card. Thank you, Justin.
Appreciate that. Howard, you also have something to give away as well.
Today, I think we gave it away yesterday, actually. I think Nate.
No, I'm giving away all the prizes at the end.
Oh,
well, actually,
okay,
probably tomorrow.
Giving away a full year of Fantasy Alarm subscription, so that you get everything in there. It's all of our content. It's our draft guides. It's everything that you could have, all sports across the board. So yes, donate and get yourself a Fantasy Alarm subscription for the full year, and that DFS betting, everything that goes along with that. I do want to shout out in the comments section to Adam Reckcamp in honor of Britton's Mike Trout card, because Adam Reckcamp is actually calling for a Mike Trout bounce back year this year, planning to be traded out of LA. We'll see if he's planning to be traded out of LA, but nevertheless, I love him so much. Again, find me at RotoBuzzGuy on Twitter. Give all these guys a follow. I just made sure that I was following everybody there as well. And you can find me at fantasyalarm.com, and you can hear me on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Me and the GM, Jim Bowden.
Boom. Well, thank you, guys. I'm going to boot you out unceremoniously as I need to bring in the next crew.
Fall